Picture this. Every time you wash your favorite polyester shirt, thousands of plastic microfibers flood into our oceans, joining the 35% of all microplastics that come from synthetic clothing. The fashion industry quietly pumps out more carbon than all international flights and shipping combined. Yet most of us never connect our wardrobes to this environmental crisis. That quick dry workout top? It's shedding invisible plastic particles with every cycle. Those affordable fast fashion finds? They're designed to degrade, filling landfills and waterways alike. The truth is, while we've been focused on straws and bags, our closets have become ground zero for plastic pollution. Let's uncover why and how to fix it. The plastic in your closet. Every time you open your closet, you're facing a hidden environmental threat. Take a quick look at your clothing labels right now. You'll likely find polyester, nylon, acrylic, or elastane listed in most items. These synthetic fibers now dominate our wardrobes, with polyester alone accounting for 52% of the global fiber market. They all share one critical trait. They're plastic, slowly breaking down like a dripping faucet that never gets turned off, constantly adding microplastics to our environment. The transformation began in 1939 when DuPont introduced nylon, accelerating during World War II as traditional materials became scarce. Manufacturers quickly realized they'd found something revolutionary: cheap, durable fabrics that could be endlessly customized. Today, synthetic fibers are everywhere, from athletic wear to dress shirts, sweaters to outdoor gear. Even clothes marketed as natural often contain synthetic blends. The average wardrobe now contains about 60% synthetic clothing, with some reaching 80% plastic content. I remember buying what I thought was a quality polyester jacket years ago. It felt sturdy at first, but after a few seasons, I noticed tiny pills forming on the surface. What I didn't realize was that each wash was stripping away thousands of invisible plastic fibers that would eventually enter our waterways. This gradual breakdown happens to all synthetic fabrics. Unlike natural fibers that biodegrade, they crumble into smaller pieces that never disappear. A single garment can shed hundreds of thousands of microplastic fibers during its lifetime through washing, wearing, or even just rubbing against other clothes in your closet. The environmental impact begins long before these clothes reach stores. Producing polyester requires over 70 million barrels of oil annually, more than some small countries consume. Manufacturing one polyester shirt emits about 5.5 kilograms of CO2, nearly triple cotton's footprint. Factories often discharge untreated wastewater containing plastic pellets and toxic chemicals directly into waterways. When we dispose of these clothes, the problems continue. Less than 15% of textile waste gets recycled globally. The rest ends up in landfills or incinerators, where synthetic fabrics either persist for centuries or release toxic chemicals when burned. Even recycled synthetics present issues. Regenerated polyester sheds more microfibers than virgin polyester during washing. Several factors drove this global shift. Production costs for synthetics are significantly lower than natural fibers, about half cotton's price per ton. They also offer performance benefits like stretch and moisture wicking that consumers demand. Fast fashion brands particularly rely on these inexpensive materials to produce trendy clothing at rock-bottom prices. These plastic-based textiles introduce durability concerns that many consumers don't consider. While synthetic fabrics may seem sturdy initially, they degrade faster than natural fibers with repeated washing. Microscopic analysis reveals how individual polyester fibers split longitudinally, creating increasingly smaller fragments that eventually become microplastics. It's like watching a sandcastle slowly erode, except these plastic particles never return to harmless grains. Testing shows that clothes shed the most microfibers during their first few washes, but the shedding never completely stops. A single garment can release fibers throughout its entire lifespan. In fact, older synthetic clothing often sheds more as the material weakens over time. This means second-hand and donated synthetics contribute significantly to microfiber pollution. The problem compounds when you consider garment construction. Fluffy fabrics like fleece are particularly problematic. One jacket can shed 250,000 fibers in a single wash. But all synthetics release microfibers, even tightly woven ones. Blending synthetic with natural fibers doesn't solve the issue either. These hybrids still release plastic microfibers when washed. Every stage of a synthetic garment's life cycle presents pollution risks. During production, fiber fragments escape into factory wastewater. During transport and retail, friction between garments releases particles. During consumer use, wearing and washing generates constant microfiber emissions. And at disposal, synthetic clothing continues breaking down in landfills, with fibers leaching into soil and groundwater. It's a life cycle where plastic contamination is inevitable. The most alarming aspect is how these microfibers accumulate. Unlike larger plastic items that might eventually degrade somewhat, microplastic fibers persist indefinitely. Wastewater treatment plants capture some, but many slip through filtration systems. Studies find synthetic fibers account for 90% of microplastics in ocean surface trawls, far outnumbering other plastic sources. Your wardrobe choices directly connect to this growing environmental burden. Each synthetic garment contributes to microfiber pollution every time you wash it. Collectively, we're releasing millions of plastic microfibers into waterways daily from laundry alone. The situation will only intensify as demand grows. Projections suggest synthetics will comprise 73% of fiber production by 2030. This plastic infiltration happened gradually through decades of shifting industry practices and consumer preferences. But now that we understand the consequences, we face critical questions about how to address the microfiber crisis. The next step is examining exactly how these synthetic fabrics release microplastics during use, particularly during washing, where the most significant fiber loss occurs. Polyester and other synthetic fibers behave fundamentally differently from natural materials when exposed to water and mechanical action. The plastic polymers that make these fabrics durable also make them prone to shedding tiny fragments that become pollutants. Understanding this process helps identify where interventions could make the biggest difference in stemming this invisible plastic flood from our closets. The washing machine disaster. Your laundry routine is an environmental time bomb. Every time you wash synthetic clothing, hundreds of thousands of plastic microfibers break loose and enter the water system. A single wash load can release up to 1.5 million fibers for heavily synthetic loads. These microscopic plastic particles slip through wastewater treatment plants and eventually reach rivers, lakes, and oceans. Think of your washing machine as an industrial microplastic printer. Its agitation, spinning, and rubbing actions systematically strip fibers from synthetic fabrics. Hotter water increases shedding, but even cold washes generate substantial pollution. Textile-derived microplastics now account for over a third of global microplastic pollution, making clothing the largest single source in our oceans. These fibers measure less than 5 millimeters, often just microns across, invisible yet devastating to marine life. Pre-washing synthetic clothing triggers the worst microfiber release, shedding up to 17 times more fibers than main wash cycles. Front-loading machines perform slightly better than top-loaders, reducing shedding by about 30%, but neither design solves the problem. Fabric construction matters too. Knitted synthetics shed far more than woven ones due to their loose structure. Fleece fabrics are the worst offenders, losing up to 1% of their weight per wash. A single jacket could release 250,000 fibers per cycle. Different synthetics shed at varying rates. Acrylic leads with over 2,400 particles per gram per wash, followed by polyester and nylon. Recycled synthetics ironically perform worse. Recycled polyester sheds 15% more fibers than virgin material due to weakened fiber structure from mechanical recycling. It's a sustainability paradox. Clothes marketed as eco-friendly actually pollute more. Multiple wash factors amplify the problem. Longer cycles, higher spin speeds, and powder detergents all increase shedding. Hard water worsens it further as minerals weaken fiber bonds. Even washing full loads doesn't stop it, just slows the bleed. A household washing 5 synthetic loads weekly could release 175 million microfibers annually. Multiply that by millions of machines worldwide, and the scale becomes catastrophic. Where do these fibers go? Wastewater carries them into sewer systems. Treatment plants capture some up to 95% in ideal cases. But even then, a medium-sized plant serving 100,000 people might release 2 billion microfibers daily. The captured fibers concentrate in sewage sludge, often incinerated or spread as fertilizer, cycling plastics back into air and soil. New clothes shed the most initially, but aging synthetics degrade and release more over time. Care labels ignore this, recommending practices like warm washes that increase pollution, workout gear, and complex designs with multiple seams shed disproportionately. Even donated or discarded clothing keeps polluting. Landfill leachate tests reveal fibers seeping into groundwater, while secondhand clothes shed in new owners' washes. Under a microscope, wash water reveals the truth, a swirling soup of plastic. Fibers, some pristine, others frayed. Your machine isn't just cleaning clothes, it's manufacturing microplastics. Industrial laundries compound the issue, processing thousands of pounds weekly, releasing billions more fibers. Water, heat, detergent, and mechanical action create the perfect storm for microfiber release. Unlike natural fibers, synthetics resist degradation, persisting in ecosystems indefinitely. The washing machine's hidden toll is a global contamination crisis, one load at a time. The invisible journey to the ocean. When you drain your washing machine, you're starting a pollution chain reaction. The water carrying microplastic fibers leaves your home through pipes, mixing with wastewater from other households. This contaminated water travels to sewage treatment plants, where conventional systems capture just 65 to 90% of microfibers. The rest flow directly into rivers and oceans. Picture a single polyester fiber escaping treatment. It rides the current downstream, slipping past filters never designed for such tiny invaders. The captured fibers don't disappear either. They concentrate in sewage sludge used as farm fertilizer, spreading microplastics across fields where rain washes them back into waterways. In coastal cities, some plants discharge wastewater directly into the ocean after minimal processing. Even advanced membrane filters struggle as the fibers clog equipment like hair in a shower drain. Approximately 8.3 million metric tons of synthetic microfibers enter oceans annually from apparel alone, one garbage truck of plastic every minute. The fibers disperse through multiple pathways. Stormwater runoff carries fibers from streets like invisible confetti. Industrial wastewater discharges contain production waste from textile factories. Even the air transports them. Microplastics evaporate with water and fall as rain over remote areas. Developing nations suffer disproportionately. The Ganges River carries 1 to 3 billion microplastic particles daily into the Bay of Bengal during monsoons. Imagine these fibers as uninvited guests at nature's banquet, hitching rides on currents that distribute them globally. Researchers find identical polyester fibers in deep-sea sediments off California and in Antarctic krill, a synthetic thread connecting ecosystems thousands of miles apart. Microplastics follow complex dispersion patterns. Denser fibers sink like tiny anchors, accumulating on seafloors near coasts. Buoyant fibers float for years, circulating with currents like plastic tumbleweeds. The Mediterranean Sea contains up to 1.25 million microfiber pieces per square kilometer, a floating junkyard trapped by geography. Tracking studies reveal their speed. Scientists marked microplastics from a UK wastewater plant and detected them 95 kilometers downstream within 3 days, faster than a weekend getaway. Ocean models show fibers released from Europe can reach the Arctic within 2 years. Your laundry's hidden toll travels farther than most vacationers. The scale keeps growing. Between 1950 and 2016, global plastic production increased 200-fold. Today, 40% of apparel plastic waste becomes unmanaged pollution, 176,500 metric tons of microfibers annually, equal to 1,200 blue whales. Our wastewater infrastructure, designed for a simpler time, can't keep up. Most treatment plants built before 2010 lack proper filters, and upgrades would cost billions. Secondary sources multiply the problem. Landfills leak microfibers like broken tea bags. Incinerators release them in ash. Even recycling sheds fibers. One facility discharges 560 million per cubic meter of wastewater. It's like trying to clean up glitter with a broom. In marine environments, fibers persist for decades. Salt water acts as a preservative, while currents constantly redistribute them like a global conveyor belt. They accumulate toxins like PCBs, becoming more hazardous over time. Nature's version of a toxic time capsule. Marine organisms can't escape them. Filter feeders ingest fibers directly. Fish mistake them for plankton. Researchers find microplastics in every water sample worldwide, proving no pristine ecosystems remain. Some fibers complete the circle. Sea spray blows them back onto land, while seabirds carry them inland like unwilling couriers. The continuous input overwhelms nature. Unlike organic matter that decomposes, microfibers simply fragment. A single polyester fiber could persist for centuries, breaking into ever smaller pieces. Sediment cores show concentrations doubling every 15 years since the 1960s. Some seafloors now contain over 100,000 fibers per square meter, a plastic carpet replacing natural habitats. Seasonal patterns emerge. Summer brings more laundry and more fibers. Holiday periods see spikes. In winter, fibers hide in ice, waiting for spring melts to release them like an alarm clock set for ecological disruption. Microfibers now permeate every ocean layer, outnumbering plankton in some areas. They transport invasive species and pathogens across basins, stowaways on a plastic voyage. Unlike visible trash that prompts cleanups, these invisible invaders escape notice until they've infiltrated food webs. Filtering them out would remove essential plankton too, leaving prevention as our only option. As these synthetic fibers infiltrate marine ecosystems, they begin altering life at microscopic levels. The next stage takes them inside organisms, where they lodge in tissues, release toxins, and disrupt essential functions. From plankton to whales, no marine creature remains untouched by this silent invasion. Silent killers in the food chain. Microplastics have infiltrated marine ecosystems at every level. The contamination begins at the base of the food chain, where zooplankton ingest microfibers, mistaking them for algae. These tiny organisms form the foundation of marine food webs, spreading plastics to larger predators. Consider the case of a young loggerhead sea turtle found stranded off Florida's coast. Its stomach contained over 300 synthetic fibers, causing severe intestinal blockages that led to its starvation. This tragic example illustrates how widespread the problem has become. The physical damage starts immediately when organisms consume fibers. European flounder exposed to microfibers ate 30% less food and showed stunted growth, while pufferfish developed intestinal obstructions leading to starvation deaths. But the harm doesn't stop there. These fibers create a ripple effect of damage throughout marine ecosystems. Beyond physical blockages, they deliver concentrated chemical cocktails to marine life. Manufacturers add hundreds of chemicals to textiles during production, and these toxins leach into organisms' tissues over time. Studies show microfibers concentrate seawater pollutants like PCBs and pesticides up to 100,000 times background levels. Fish exposed to microfiber-contaminated water display measurable health impacts. European perch larvae showed reduced hatching rates and abnormal development, while Mediterranean mussels experienced altered gut microbiomes that impaired digestion. Shellfish like oysters produce fewer eggs and weaker larvae when exposed to microfiber concentrations matching polluted coastal waters. Chronic exposure leads to generational effects. Offspring of contaminated organisms often show greater susceptibility to environmental stress. Coral reefs suffer particularly from microfiber pollution. A single coral polyp can ingest over 100 microplastic particles per day, with fibers smothering tissues and introducing pathogenic bacteria. Microscopic analysis shows fibers embedding in coral skeletons, potentially weakening their structures over decades. This adds to the stress on reef ecosystems, already facing warming waters and ocean acidification. The fibers also alter marine habitats physically. Sandy seafloors near urban areas now contain up to 3% microfiber content by weight, changing sediment porosity and microbial communities. Deep-sea ecosystems accumulate microfibers in surprising quantities, with every square kilometer of seafloor potentially containing over 4 billion fibers buried in sediments. These submerged fibers interact with heavy metals, creating toxic hotspots on the ocean bottom. Microfibers impact species differently based on feeding methods. Filter feeders, like mussels, actively concentrate microplastics. A single mussel can accumulate thousands of microfibers while filtering up to 20 liters daily. Even deep-sea creatures from unexplored trenches show contamination, proving the pollution reaches every marine environment. Marine mammals face unique risks. A single gray whale may consume up to 6.5 million microplastic particles daily during feeding season. The long lifespan of these animals allows decades of microfiber accumulation, with necropsies of stranded cetaceans regularly finding synthetic fibers tangled in digestive tracts. Seabirds demonstrate some of the most visible impacts. Fulmars in the North Sea average 20 plastic pieces in their stomachs, while albatrosses on remote Pacific islands carry stomachs full of plastic debris. Some birds develop plasticosis, a newly identified fibrotic disease caused by chronic plastic ingestion, scarring digestive tracts. The contamination escalates through food chains in unexpected ways. Small fish consume microplastics directly from water. Then larger predators accumulate fibers from multiple prey sources. Top predators, like tuna, show some of the highest microfiber concentrations through this biomagnification process. Microfibers impact fundamental ecological processes beyond individual species. Researchers discovered plastic particles in marine snow, the organic detritus that carries carbon to the deep ocean. This plastic marine snow alters the biological carbon pump, potentially disrupting Earth's climate regulation systems. Reproductive effects raise particular concern. Male perch exposed to microplastics produce less viable sperm, while female fish often lay fewer eggs with higher embryo mortality rates. These impacts could destabilize wild populations and affect commercial fisheries. The scale of contamination makes recovery challenging. Unlike visible plastic debris, microfibers have become thoroughly integrated into marine ecosystems. Their small size and widespread distribution make cleanup efforts practically impossible at current concentrations. Microplastics also interact with other environmental stressors. Warmer seawater increases microfiber toxicity, while acidified oceans may break down fibers into nanoplastics that penetrate cells more easily. These synergistic effects create complex challenges for marine conservation. The food chain contamination has direct human health implications. Microplastics now contaminate commonly consumed seafood. A standard serving of shellfish can contain dozens of synthetic fibers. Cooking doesn't eliminate the fibers. Frying or boiling seafood actually increases microfiber release into cooking water or oils. The long-term ecosystem consequences remain concerning. Persistent microfibers may gradually alter species compositions, disrupt predator-prey balances, and interfere with larval settlement. Their biogeochemical impacts on carbon and nutrient cycles might have climate feedbacks we don't yet fully understand. These ocean contaminants originate from human activities, particularly our dependence on synthetic textiles. Each washing machine cycle contributes to this accumulating burden. The microfibers in your clothes today could eventually end up altering ecosystems thousands of miles away, or in fish on your plate. Scientists now find microplastics in honey, beer, table salt, and drinking water, proving these synthetic fibers have infiltrated nearly every aspect of our food supply, completing a troubling pollution loop that begins and ends with human activity. Plastic. Studies analyzing commonly eaten shellfish find microplastics in every sample tested. Muscles contain 0.2 to 1.8 microplastic particles per gram of tissue, meaning a single meal could introduce 90 plastic particles into your body. Shellfish concentrate these particles because they filter large volumes of seawater while feeding. Consider this. Europeans who regularly eat shellfish consume about 11,000 microplastic particles per year just from this one food source. When you account for all exposure routes, food, water, and even the air we breathe, the average person ingests over 200,000 plastic particles annually. These aren't just passing through us. Autopsy studies reveal plastic fragments lodged in human intestines, livers, and other organs, with the highest concentrations found in intestinal tissue. The lungs tell a similar story. Researchers identify synthetic fibers in lung tissue samples, particularly among urban populations. The average person breathes in between 26 and 130 microplastic particles daily. Textile workers face far worse, inhaling up to 1,500 fibers per cubic meter of air in some factories. These particles don't get exhaled. Instead, they embed themselves in lung tissue, with scans revealing opaque specks concentrated in lower lobes. Some patients develop small areas of inflammation around trapped plastic fibers. Medical scans now detect these invaders in living patients. A 2022 breakthrough study found plastic fragments in the blood of 80% of people tested. The particles range from 0.5 to 10 micrometers, small enough to slip into our bloodstream and travel anywhere in the body. Imagine thousands of these microscopic hitchhikers circulating through your veins, some eventually taking up residence in your organs. The chemical payload these particles carry may be more dangerous than the plastic itself. A single polyester fiber can contain up to 8,000 different chemical additives, dyes, flame retardants, plasticizers. Many function as endocrine disruptors, synthetic compounds that interfere with our hormone systems. Like tiny saboteurs, they leach into tissues over time, potentially altering everything from reproduction to metabolism. Our food system has become a revolving door for plastic contamination. Sewage sludge, treated wastewater solids sold as fertilizer, contains concentrated microplastics from laundry and other sources. Farmers spread this plastic-laden sludge on fields growing our vegetables. Studies find microplastics in carrots, lettuce, and wheat, with root vegetables showing particularly high uptake. Even salt isn't safe. Sea salt contains up to 280 microplastic particles per kilogram. Beverages carry their own plastic burden. Bottled water averages 93 particles per liter compared to tap water's 4 to 16. Beer brewed with Great Lakes water contains about 4 plastic fibers per liter. Researchers even find plastic in commercial honey, up to 660 fibers per kilogram in U.S. samples. This ubiquity makes complete avoidance nearly impossible. Children face greater exposure than adults. Infants fed with polypropylene bottles swallow millions of microplastic particles daily from bottle degradation alone. Their smaller body size means higher relative exposure, and biomarker studies confirm elevated plastic concentrations in young bodies. What happens when these particles set up shop in our tissues? Lab studies show they trigger chronic inflammation and cellular damage. Their large surface area acts like a sponge for environmental pollutants, delivering concentrated doses of pesticides and industrial chemicals directly to our cells. The long-term effects remain uncertain, but the mechanisms for harm clearly exist. Endocrine disruption raises particular concern. Phthalates, common plastic softeners, alter testosterone production in animals. Bisphenol A, BPA, interferes with estrogen signaling. While direct links to human disease need more study, these effects could influence development, reproduction, and metabolism across generations. The body tries to eliminate some particles. The average person excretes between 50 and 500 microplastics daily through feces. But autopsies prove many remain embedded in tissues. Some damage intestinal lining cells in lab experiments, potentially contributing to gut permeability. Others alter gut microbiota, favoring inflammatory bacterial strains. Researchers are investigating possible links to rising inflammatory bowel disease rates. Respiratory effects emerge in textile workers, who show increased chronic bronchitis and lung disease from high microfiber exposure. Similar particles in urban air pollution correlate with worsening asthma. The combination of physical irritation and chemical exposure likely drives these impacts. Global biomonitoring reveals the scale of contamination. The average European adult carries about 20 milligrams of plastic particles in their body at any given time, slightly higher in the US at 24 milligrams. These figures will likely grow as plastic production increases. Global per capita consumption has quadrupled since the 1980s. Diet influences exposure. Seafood consumers show 2 to 3 times higher microplastic burdens than vegetarians. Regular bottled beverage drinkers have 30 to 50% higher particle counts than tap water users. But no diet offers complete protection given environmental contamination levels. Even food processing adds microplastics. Mechanical grinding releases particles from equipment. Plastic packaging transfers them through abrasion. Canned foods contain them from linings. Fresh produce washes in plastic containers accumulate particles from water and container wear. Home cooking methods matter. Hot liquids leach more particles from plastic containers. Microwaving plastic dramatically increases shedding. Non-stick cookware coatings degrade over time, releasing particles into food. Simple switches to glass containers and cast iron pans can reduce household contributions. The most disturbing findings show microplastics bypassing all biological barriers. Animal studies demonstrate blood-brain barrier penetration and placental transfer, exposing developing fetuses. The long-term implications of lifelong plastic accumulation in human organs remain unknown but demand urgent study. We've created a circular contamination loop. Plastics from clothing enter ecosystems, accumulate in food, and return to our bodies. The same synthetic fibers providing affordable clothing also introduce a pervasive contaminant into global food systems and human biology. Industry responses remain inadequate. Some brands promote recycled polyester as sustainable, though it sheds even more microplastics than virgin materials. Voluntary commitments lack binding targets. Most countries still lack regulatory standards for microplastics in food and water. Consumer awareness lags far behind scientific findings. Most people don't realize they're regularly consuming microplastics through normal eating and drinking. Education about exposure routes could shift behaviors toward lower shedding textiles and filtration options. The scale of exposure suggests microplastics now represent a universal contaminant on par with heavy metals. Like these pollutants, effects may span generations through bioaccumulation. The coming decades will reveal whether this widespread contamination produces measurable population health impacts. But by then, the plastic will already be in all of us. Big Fashion's Dirty Playbook. The fashion industry understands the microfiber pollution problem, but continues business as usual. Major brands promote sustainability initiatives while avoiding meaningful action on synthetic fibers. A 2021 review of 231 fashion companies found only 4% demonstrated leadership in addressing microplastic pollution. Over half the brands contacted for a microplastics transparency survey failed to respond at all. Textile manufacturers employ familiar delay tactics when confronted about microfiber pollution. They fund small-scale research projects rather than implement solutions, and emphasize consumer responsibility over production changes. Trade associations lobby against regulations by arguing the science remains uncertain, a strategy we've seen before from industries resisting accountability. Recycled polyester exemplifies the industry's misleading sustainability claims. Take H&M's Conscious Collection, marketed as eco-friendly yet containing up to 50% synthetic materials. Research shows these fabrics shed 15% more microfibers than virgin polyester during washing because the recycling process weakens fiber structure. The result? Sustainable clothing lines that actually worsen microplastic pollution. Fast fashion drives synthetic fiber growth, projected to increase from 65% to 73% of global textile production by 2030. Brands release more collections than ever, most containing synthetic blends, despite clear environmental harm. Shine exemplifies this trend, adding thousands of new synthetic items weekly, some priced below a cup of coffee. The industry's diversion tactics follow a clear pattern. They highlight organic cotton initiatives while quietly expanding polyester lines. They promote clothing recycling programs that capture less than 1% of material. Some introduce biodegradable synthetics, but these still shed microfibers and require specific composting conditions to break down. Voluntary initiatives like the Sustainable Apparel Coalition's Higg Index conspicuously exclude microfiber shedding from assessments. The Microfiber Consortium, an industry group, focuses on research rather than action. No major brand has committed to phasing out synthetics, preferring token efforts like microfiber catching laundry bags that capture only 30% of fibers and shift responsibility to consumers. When challenged, manufacturers selectively compare impacts, arguing natural fibers use more water while ignoring microplastics' unique persistence. Cotton may require more resources, but it biodegrades without leaving permanent pollution. This cherry-picked framing justifies continuing synthetic production despite the consequences. Testing shows production methods could reduce shedding, but companies guard manufacturing processes as trade secrets. Without transparency, consumers can't identify better options. The industry even resists standardized testing that would allow comparisons between brands. The economic incentives are clear. Polyester costs half as much as cotton per ton to produce. These short-term savings come at the expense of long-term environmental damage. Financial reports reveal priorities. LVMH allocated just 400 million euros for sustainability versus 15.6 billion euros in revenue, while marketing budgets dwarf environmental spending across the industry. Greenwashing permeates sustainability marketing. Zara's Join Life line includes polyester blends, representing a fraction of inventory, while synthetic production expands. Brands emphasize recyclability in ads, but ignore microfiber pollution during use. Their research priorities tell the real story. Most funded studies focus on wastewater filtration rather than preventing shedding at source. Supply chain opacity prevents accountability. A single brand may source from hundreds of manufacturers across multiple countries, with no tracking of which factories produce their synthetic fabrics. This complex web allows companies to distance themselves from pollution. The industry's growth projections ignore planetary boundaries. Textile production already accounts for 8 to 10% of global carbon emissions. Expanding synthetic fiber use would significantly increase microfiber pollution, yet no major brand has set absolute reduction targets. Worker safety receives similar neglect. Textile workers inhale airborne microplastics daily, with studies showing higher respiratory disease rates among synthetic fiber production staff. Unions have raised concerns, but protections remain inadequate in most producing countries. The Fashion Pact, signed by 250 brands, exemplifies hollow commitments. Signatories have increased synthetic production since joining, and independent analysis shows most fail to meet even their own weak sustainability goals. When France mandated microfiber pollution labels starting 2025, trade groups protested, their standard response to any regulation. Material innovation could help, but receives minimal funding compared to synthetic product marketing. Plant-based leather alternatives and improved natural fibers exist, but lack investment to compete at scale. Instead, brands like Adidas and Patagonia promote products made from ocean plastic, which still shed microfibers, rather than developing true solutions. Consumer education remains woefully inadequate. Care labels mention washing temperatures, but not microfiber pollution. Stores don't display shedding information, and brands bury details in sustainability reports rather than product descriptions. The parallels to historical environmental battles are striking. Like leaded gasoline or CFCs, economic interests delay action despite clear harm. The industry has resources to address this, but shows little willingness to disrupt profitable business models. The solution requires systemic change, production standards, material innovation, and consumer education advancing together. Currently, the industry blocks progress on all fronts. Without external pressure from regulation or market shifts, this pattern will continue. The facts remain clear. Synthetic clothing generates persistent pollution throughout its life cycle, and the industry prioritizes growth over environmental protection. While individual choices alone won't solve the problem, collective pressure can drive change. The next section explores practical steps to reduce microfiber pollution from both clothing choices and laundry habits. Laundry habits that actually help. Your laundry routine might seem harmless, but small changes can drastically reduce microfiber pollution. Most people don't realize their washing machine releases hundreds of thousands of plastic particles with every load. The good news is that adjusting a few habits can cut this pollution significantly without requiring expensive upgrades. Let me walk you through the changes that make the biggest difference. First, skip the pre-wash cycle. It's the worst offender for microfiber release. That initial rinse dislodges far more fibers than the main wash. Instead of pre-washing, try spot treating stains. One family in Oregon cut their microfiber pollution by nearly half just by making this single change. Here's something surprising. Your water temperature setting matters more than you'd think. Picture this. When you wash synthetics in hot water, those plastic fibers become weak and brittle, breaking apart like dry spaghetti. Switch to cold water and they stay strong and intact. A 30 degrees Celsius 86 degrees Fahrenheit wash cleans just as effectively while keeping those fibers where they belong, in your clothes. How full you pack your washer makes a difference too. Ever notice how clothes get tangled in a half-empty machine? That extra friction means more fibers breaking loose. Fill your drum about 3/4 full, enough for items to move freely without excessive rubbing. One test showed this simple adjustment reduces shedding by 30%. Time is another factor. Would you believe an 80-minute wash releases 30% more microfibers than a 30-minute cycle? Modern detergents work fast, so unless your clothes are truly filthy, opt for shorter cycles. Think of it like brushing your teeth. Thorough but gentle gets the job done without unnecessary wear. Now let's talk spin speed. High RPM spins might get your clothes drier faster, but they also wring out more microfibers. Dropping from 1,400 to 800 RPM makes a noticeable difference. One study found about 20% fewer fibers released. The trade-off? Your clothes come out slightly damper, but they'll dry soon enough. Here's a laundry secret. Your detergent choice matters. Powdered detergents act like tiny scrub brushes, scouring fibers loose. Switch to liquid detergent and you'll cut microfiber release by about 30%. And steer clear of any products containing plastic microbads. They just add to the problem. That fabric softener you love? It's actually making things worse. The chemicals gradually weaken fibers, causing more shedding over time. Try white vinegar instead. It softens fabrics naturally without the microfiber fallout. A German household that made this switch reduced their microfiber pollution by nearly 20%. Want to take bigger steps? Consider adding a microfiber filter to your washing machine. These devices capture up to 80% of fibers before they enter waterways. The Planet Care filter, for example, traps 78% in real-world use. While they require some maintenance, the impact adds up quickly. One filter can prevent millions of microfibers from polluting each year. If a full filter system isn't feasible, try a microfiber catching laundry bag. The Guppy Friend bag reduces fiber release by 54 to 86% and costs about $25. Just imagine, slipping your synthetic clothes into one of these before washing could prevent hundreds of thousands of microfibers from escaping with each load. Your washing machine itself plays a role too. Front-loading models are gentler on clothes, releasing about 30% fewer microfibers than top-loading agitator washers. If you're appliance shopping, look for newer high-efficiency models. Some even come with built-in microfiber filters now. Don't forget about drying. Tumble-drying synthetics releases 40% more microfibers than air drying. The heat and tumbling action continue what the wash started. Line drying eliminates this completely while saving energy. One California family cut their microfiber output by simply using a clothesline for their activewear. How often you wash makes a difference too. Wearing synthetic items twice before washing cuts microfiber pollution in half. Many clothes just need airing out between wears. Spot cleaning small stains prevents unnecessary full washes. And bonus, your clothes will last longer too. Some garments need special attention. That cozy fleece jacket? It can shed 250,000 fibers per wash. Try wearing a base layer to reduce washing frequency. For athletic wear and baby clothes, look for natural fiber alternatives when possible. Every swap helps. The real magic happens when you combine these methods. cold water, full loads, and a microfiber filter together can prevent over 500,000 microfibers from polluting per wash. Add a Guppy Friend bag, and you're capturing nearly 90%. Small changes, multiplied across thousands of households, create real environmental impact. Maintenance matters too. Clean microfiber bags inside out every few uses, and check filters monthly. These simple habits keep your solutions working effectively. One apartment complex in Sweden reduced their microfiber output by 75% just through proper filter maintenance. Communities are taking action too. Some European towns install municipal filters at wastewater plants. California is considering requiring filters in all new washing machines. When neighbors share solutions, the impact grows exponentially. Commercial laundries present a huge opportunity. Imagine if every hotel and hospital installed industrial filters. We could prevent billions of microfibers daily. Some European hospitals already lead the way, proving it's possible at scale. Changing habits takes time. Many still believe hotter, longer washes clean better, despite evidence to the contrary. But when people see cold water's cleaning power demonstrated, behaviors shift. One laundromat in Seattle saw a 40% drop in hot water use after showing customers side-by-side test results. The economic case makes sense too. A $150 filter lasts 5 years, about 2 cents per wash. Compare that to the cost of cleaning microplastics from waterways, and it's a smart investment. Some areas even offer rebates, like they do for water-saving appliances. Policy changes are accelerating solutions. France will require microfiber filters in all new washers by 2025. The UK and California are moving in similar directions. As regulations drive innovation, better technologies emerge. Consumer demand shapes the market too. When people ask for microfiber solutions, manufacturers respond. Samsung and Electrolux now offer models with built-in filtration. Your purchasing choices send a powerful message. The most effective approach combines prevention and capture. Proper wash settings reduce shedding at the source, while filters catch what escapes. Together, they're far more powerful than either alone. Future washers might automatically adjust cycles to minimize microfiber release. Some prototypes even have self-cleaning filters. As these technologies become standard, low microfiber washing will be the easy choice. Textile innovations help too. New fabrics and construction methods reduce shedding from the start. When paired with better laundry habits, we can tackle this problem from multiple angles. Retailers can play a role by bundling filters with washers or including care tips on clothing labels. Simple nudges make the right choices easier. Seeing is believing. When people view microscope images of wash water, the invisible becomes visible. Some organizations let you see the microfibers captured from your own laundry, a powerful motivator for change. Collective action amplifies individual efforts. Neighborhood challenges, school projects, and community science programs turn solutions into shared missions. The habits we establish now will impact waterways for decades. Each wash matters, and the solutions are within reach. By combining awareness, behavior change, and technology, we can dramatically reduce this pervasive pollution. It starts with your next load of laundry. What change will you try first? Choosing clothes that don't pollute. Every clothing purchase makes an environmental statement. Walk into any major retailer and you'll find racks dominated by synthetic fabrics, polyester, nylon, acrylic, and elastane blends. These plastic-based textiles account for over 60% of global clothing production. But hidden among them are natural fiber alternatives that could significantly reduce microfiber pollution. Take Sarah, a nurse who switched from synthetic scrubs to organic cotton. After 3 months, she noticed her laundry filter caught far less lint, and her skin irritation disappeared. I never connected my uniform to ocean plastic until I saw the fibers accumulating, she says. Her story shows how simple swaps create ripple effects. Scientific testing reveals why natural fibers make a difference. A 2020 study found they shed 90% fewer microfibers than synthetics during washing. Wool releases just 20 microfibers per gram compared to polyester's 908. These numbers add up quickly. The average household washes 300 loads annually. sending thousands of plastic particles into waterways. Unlike synthetics that persist for centuries, natural fibers biodegrade like leaves returning to soil. Performance tests challenge synthetic dominance. Merino will naturally wicks moisture while resisting odors, requiring washing every 4 to 5, whereas versus synthetics 1 to 2. Its lanolin content repels stains, and it insulates even when wet. Smartwool's athletic gear proves wool outperforms polyester for active use. Similarly, organic cotton's longer fibers make fabrics more durable. Patagonia's tests show 40% less shedding than conventional cotton after 50 washes. Fabric construction matters as much as material. Tight weaves like canvas shed fewer fibers than loose knits. A woven linen shirt releases 80% fewer fibers than a polyester tee. Seam construction also plays a role. Flatlock stitching prevents fiber breakage at stress points. Durability gives natural fibers another edge. A wool sweater maintains its shape for 50-plus washes, while polyester fleece pills after 20. High-quality cotton softens without degrading. Patagonia found organic tees last 2 to 3 years versus synthetics 1 to 2. This longevity creates savings. A $150 wool sweater worn for a decade costs less than replacing 5 $30 acrylic sweaters. Consumer choices create measurable impacts. Replacing 5 synthetic items annually with natural alternatives could prevent millions of microplastics from entering waterways. If 10,000 households made this switch, they'd keep over 1 billion microfibers out of oceans yearly. Children's clothing presents a key opportunity. Synthetic pajamas and school uniforms contribute disproportionately due to frequent washing. Brands like Hannah Anderson offer affordable organic cotton alternatives. Similarly, workwear like nurses' scrubs undergoes daily washing. Figs now provides natural fiber versions that reduce pollution while maintaining professionalism. Secondhand natural fiber clothing offers compounded benefits. Vintage wool coats or cotton shirts have already released most loose fibers during previous washes. Thrift stores typically contain higher percentages of natural fibers than fast fashion retailers. Denim selection makes a difference. Stretch jeans contain 20 to 30% synthetic elastane that sheds microfibers. Rigid 100% cotton denim releases fewer fibers and lasts longer. Nudie jeans and Levi's vintage line offer durable non-stretch options. Certifications help identify sustainable choices. The Global Organic Textile Standard GOTS ensures organic integrity from farm to product. Responsible Wool Standard certifies humane sheep farming. These labels matter because agricultural practices affect sustainability. Regenerative wool and cotton farming can sequester carbon while improving soil health. Consumer pressure drives innovation. When shown microfiber pollution data, 68% of UK shoppers chose natural fibers despite higher prices. Retailers respond. Marks and Spencer expanded organic cotton by 300% after surveys showed environmental concerns driving purchases. Policy changes could accelerate adoption. France requires labels to state contains plastic for synthetic items. California considers similar legislation to inform consumers about microfiber risks. The economic case strengthens as production scales. Organic cotton costs dropped 40% in the past decade. Regenerative wool commands premiums that incentivize farmers. Cultural perceptions shift too. Younger consumers increasingly associate natural fibers with quality rather than outdated styles. Vintage trends make wool and linen desirable again. Proper care extends benefits. Natural fibers require less frequent washing. Wool and linen resist odors naturally. Storage matters too. Cedar blocks and breathable bags preserve fabrics between wears. Repair culture complements sustainability. Darning wool sweaters or patching cotton jeans keeps them in use longer. Many brands now offer repair services to discourage replacements. The cumulative impact becomes clear. If every U.S. adult replaced one synthetic shirt with a natural alternative, it could prevent over 3 trillion microplastic particles from entering waterways annually. Industry transformation requires both consumer demand and producer responsibility. While shoppers choose natural fibers, manufacturers must improve accessibility. The solutions exist. They simply need broader adoption. Systemic changes beyond individual purchases could amplify these efforts. The next section examines individual actions and industry transformations that could accelerate targeted microfiber reduction. Individual actions help, but solving microfiber pollution requires systemic change. Current waste management systems can't handle the volume of microplastics we generate. Wastewater treatment plants designed decades ago weren't built to filter microscopic plastic fibers. This infrastructure gap allows millions of microfibers to bypass filtration daily. Policy shifts, gaining momentum. Public opinion has dramatically shifted toward holding producers accountable. A 2023 Pew Research study found 41% of Americans now believe plastic manufacturers should bear primary responsibility for plastic pollution, nearly double those who blame consumers. This changing mindset is driving concrete policy changes worldwide. France's groundbreaking 2020 anti-waste law requires all new washing machines to include microfiber filters by 2025, potentially preventing 800 metric tons of microfiber pollution annually. Similar legislation is advancing in California and across the EU, showing how public demand translates into action. Industrial solutions making an impact. Imagine a textile factory in Vietnam that once discharged millions of microfibers daily. After installing in-process filtration systems recommended by the UK's Microplastics Release Working Group, it now captures 60% of emissions while recovering valuable fibers for recycling. The system paid for itself in under 3 years, proving environmental and economic benefits can align. The EU's upcoming extended producer responsibility rules will force clothing brands to financially support recycling programs. Early analysis suggests this could reduce synthetic fiber use by nearly a quarter as companies redesign products to minimize costs. Municipal infrastructure upgrades. Toronto's wastewater pilot program demonstrates what's possible. By retrofitting a treatment plant with additional filtration, they achieved 98% microfiber capture compared to the standard 70%, for just $2.50 per household annually. With U.S. wastewater systems needing $271 billion in upgrades, incorporating microfiber filtration now would provide long-term protection at minimal added cost. Innovative technologies. Emerging Dutch researchers developed bubble barriers that trap microplastics using compressed air, removing 86% of particles in Amsterdam canals without blocking water flow. The Great Bubble Barrier Company estimates each installation could prevent 8,000 kilograms of plastic pollution yearly. Similar systems are being tested in Japan and South Korea, showing how simple solutions can have massive impact. Corporate accountability. Rising public pressure is transforming the industry. Shareholder resolutions on microplastic pollution skyrocketed 340% since 2015. Major retailers like Patagonia and Eileen Fisher now operate clothing take-back programs, while LG and Samsung offer washing machines with built-in filters in response to regulations. The Plastic Soup Foundation's research reveals how education drives change. Families reduce synthetic clothing purchases by 37% after students complete their program. Their Beat the Microbead app helped users cut synthetic purchases by 28%, proving informed consumers will make better choices. Global cooperation. Accelerating. The UN's Plastics Treaty now specifically addresses synthetic textile pollution, while over 60 nations have added microplastics to water quality standards since 2020. The World Bank's Pollute program funds microfiber capture in manufacturing hubs like Bangladesh, targeting pollution at its source. Financial institutions are joining the effort. Dutch bank ABN AMRO now offers lower interest rates to fashion brands, reducing synthetic fiber use, creating powerful economic incentives for change. The path forward. Ocean conservation depends on addressing microfiber pollution alongside climate change and overfishing. The solutions exist, from bubble barriers to producer responsibility laws. They simply need implementation at scale. Your voice matters in this critical moment. Contact representatives about microfiber legislation. Ask brands tough questions. Support organizations pushing for solutions. With the UN Plastics Treaty negotiations underway, public engagement can tip the balance toward meaningful action. The clothing industry's global reach makes it an ideal test case for circular economy principles. Success here could ripple across other sectors, showing how collective action can turn the tide on plastic pollution. The time for systemic change is now. The microplastic crisis demands action now. Each synthetic garment you wash releases hundreds of thousands of plastic fibers that persist forever. While companies keep producing problem fabrics, real change needs both individual and collective action. Start today. Install a washing machine filter, switch to cold washes, or choose natural fibers. When millions make small changes, they create massive reductions in pollution. Our laundry habits built this crisis. Better habits can undo it. Policy changes are coming, but oceans can't wait. Every fiber saved is a lifeline. The time to act is today. Will your next choice poison the sea or protect it?